Rebound and rebuild.
In life, you don't lose, you learn.
Every one of us has potential.
100%.
The winner is...
Here we go. Rebound and rebuild.
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for joining us again for another show, Rebound and Rebuild. I am Coach Charles with my man,
Carlos, the creator, right here.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you've been with us the last few weeks, hopefully you've been getting something out of what we've been discussing, because we're trying to lay our hearts bare in front of you, but also talk about some things that you genuinely might be dealing with as men who are trying to do some incredible things, kingdom building, purpose-driven things with your family, lives, career, and culture. Got a good one today, right?
Yeah, man. We're so excited for today's episode, which is something that we all really struggle with.
Sure.
Some more than others, some get it before others, but we just, in life, we go through seasons.
That's true.
And I think sometimes people don't understand the weight and the value of seasons.
Right.
We don't get them here in Florida. We just get one in a week.
Well, we did have
it's
winter
summer and 1 week of winter.
It's been awesome, man.
Yeah.
But seriously, we're going to dive into this real quick, because there's some thoughts that along this journey today, we hope really resonate with you. And we're going to start right here. So have you ever in your life had someone give you advice, try to help you, or tell you exactly what you freaking needed to hear, right? But then instead of taking their advice, you had rebuttals, you gave excuses, or you simply just didn't do it, and then blamed everything and everyone else for why what you wanted to happen didn't. You ever done that before?
Guilty right here.
Man, it's dumb. But here's the thing. So I had an example. I had a client. Yeah. Some of you may know, we call me Coach Charles, because I do work with professional athletes all the way down to youth athletes, and we coach people not just in business but in purpose. And I had an athlete that I was speaking with this past week. Yeah. And what happened was he asked me for some advice, and it wasn't just the typical, because this is an athlete I've been dealing with for weeks. And every single time I see this one athlete, there's something wrong with his body, right? And I mean, it's like to the point where every time you see him, you can't get started, because it's like, hey, this little thing is bothering me, right? So I said to him, have you done what I've asked you to do so that you can recover?
Right.
Are you hydrating using this formula? Are you doing this amount of water per day because you're an athlete? Yeah. Dehydration can actually increase risk of injury. No. Okay. Are you getting about 8 hours of sleep every night? Are you putting that into practice even though you don't have any homework to do, et cetera? Oh, man, no. Okay. Have you talked to your athletic trainer and seen them? Well, I've seen them, but they're incompetent. Man, I snapped. Yeah. I snapped. I mean, I physically shook this kid. He's 17 years old, but I had to correct him, because I said, if you come to me for my advice as a professional and you're asking and I give you what you need and you don't do it, or every time I say something, you have a reason or excuse for why it can't be done, or the person won't do it, then I have no answers for you. I have nothing more to say to you. Well, like, have you had any examples in your life from the creative side where?
Well, as creatives, we are by nature extra emotional and extra sensitive when it comes to our design or our look or whatever. Sure. But yeah, I have countless examples of other artists and myself where, we try to get better at certain things, but the thing is we get stuck. We get stuck in a rut and we get comfortable. And as creatives, we tend to have a niche. Is that how you say it?
Niche.
And we dwell in it and we like it there. And, at some point in our careers, it was the heat of the moment. It was, we struck gold. Okay. But that doesn't mean that it lasts. Design, creativity evolves every day. True. And when you get stuck back there and you hear about you got stuck back there, you don't take it the right way. But that's when a designer, an artist needs to keep up with trends.
And grow.
Needs to keep up and grow and get better. One time I went to this, it's they I don't know if they still do it, but they did at that time. I was young and I was new in the business, and I went to this event called Pros. So all of the city's top designers, creatives, from camera ops to photographers to marketing, whatever, they were at this
event
gathering.
Right.
And it was probably like 120 of us, like 100 of us. I was very young and I was like, whoa, like I need to look up to these guys. And one thing that I found out was that all of these guys were out of work. And I was like, why? How are they out of work? Like, they should be booming in work. They should be the ones leading us, the young ones. And I found out that they get themselves stuck in this place of like, this is how I do things. This is what I like to do. And I don't like to move forward. I don't like to get better. And not that they don't like to get better. They just think that they've
arrived, so to speak. And I don't want to use the word arrived. I hate that phrase, but I get what you're saying.
And I was like, well, people stop hiring them because they're the same flavor every time. Sure. They became vanilla. They became bland. They became boring. Predictable. And as artists, you don't want to be there because you eventually like become dormant to even yourself, and you give up your career to go somewhere else.
Let me ask you a question. At that point, typically, is that where the growth stops because they're not saying, what do I need to do to make myself better?
Mm-hmm. They're saying people need to be like me.
Ooh.
And I'm a fan of growth. Once you stop growing and you peak at any place, at any job, at any business, you need to move on.
Okay.
Or change something up.
Okay.
Or develop a new strength or whatever. And we are not perfect.
True.
Humanity aren't perfect in any way. The moment you think you're perfect is the moment you've actually got stuck.
True. Yeah.
And like with your story with your athlete, maybe he thought his coaches or whatever, because what did he say?
He said that they were incompetent. And if he took my advice and talked to them, they weren't going to, quote, do anything.
He's arrogant.
Yes.
He thinks he's above coaches.
Yes.
One. Two. And so that's the attitude of like, once you get to that point where you're like,
yes,
I'm better. Nobody's better than me. Like, you're not going to make it.
And let me say this, because that's a great point to be made. At that point in time, I literally, like I said, physically shook this kid in front of his parents. And I told his parents, I said, do you see how he's looking at you?
He was a minor, remember?
Yeah, so I told him, I said, because this guy wants to go to the next level of sports. And I've never had an athlete that I've trained not get the D1 scholarship, not get drafted into the NFL, not continue in the MLB. I've never had an athlete that didn't get there that really wanted to get there. And that's what I challenged them on. I expressed to them, I said, if you want to get to the next level, you're going to have to take responsibility and ownership for your craft. And that's what you're saying. Exactly. As a creative and as a human and as a man, we oftentimes get in our arrogance or our pride and our self-centeredness. And even worse, if the environment we're in is a comforting environment where everyone has to hold us up and coddle us, and we never get the chance to face ourselves, or no one is in our life who can really speak to us in real truth. We're done.
We're done. There's no way we can keep going.
You can't.
And it's funny because the Bible's so clear about speaking to us about seasons.
That's right.
And we know that the Lord made seasons naturally.
True.
We go. And to show us, you're not going to be the same.
And you shouldn't
Your 17 self can't be the same as your 25-year-old self.
But your 17 self is living your 25-year-old self now. He's going to be the guy that's so arrogant today. But go ahead.
But, we need to, just like a tree.
Sure.
And its trunk. And, we've all seen the rings on a tree. And they keep going bigger and bigger and bigger. we need to develop. If we don't develop those rings with us, what happens?
Such a good point.
We tumble.
That's very true.
We break.
That's very
we
true.
We crack, and we become timber.
That is very true. Great analogy, Carlos.
So we need to be able to focus on how can I get to the next level? How can I grow and be better?
Sure.
And this even brings into businesses.
That's right.
Where if you are having issues growing your business, the issue is probably not
external.
The people.
That is right.
It's probably internal.
That is exactly right.
You are not doing something or that you should be doing to be able to bring clients in.
That's right.
And that's where you either risk it, invest, go another direction.
Right. Pivot. Right.
Do the right thing that will bring the clientele in.
That is very true. That's very true. And you mentioned some really cool points there, and hopefully we'll get to all of them. And I hope that you're enjoying this already, because I'm telling you, we're trying our best to be very, very open with you about our struggles and also things that we learn from day to day with our actual business and clientele interactions. But one of the things in particular you're talking about, not just seasons, but you said level up.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking with you, we were just talking about this shortly, and it was every time people discuss leveling up, they always talk about it like to the next jump. But they never take a moment to recognize that, like a staircase, each step is a level up.
Yes.
And that was what I was taking from what you expressed with the trees.
Yes.
The trees have rings to show their levels of growth.
Yeah.
But they didn't grow vertically. They grew horizontally, expanding their base of support so that they can support more branches, more greenery, more life, etc. And that's how feeder bands work in the rest of our existence.
And it's only natural.
That's true.
It's natural growth.
Natural growth.
Imagine a tree having a ring the size of an inch.
Yes.
But 50 feet tall. There's just no way in the world that's possible.
Well, maybe a bamboo shoot. That's the only example. But
crazy. Even bamboo depend on bamboos around them.
Man, do y'all hear this wisdom this guy just spit right now? What the heck, son?
And it's whole evolvement. I mean, we talked about the fire a couple weeks back on what kind of fire and what kind of timber and wood we need.
Yes.
It's always different. You can't always find the same type of fire. And in this case, whatever type of tree you are, you need to take advantage of the circumstance and the situations you're in to be able to grow.
That's right.
Whether you're a bamboo tree or you're a sequoia tree.
That's right.
It's all a part of your environment.
That's right.
A part of the nature of your intake, which is what's feeding your business, what's feeding who are around you.
Yes.
And in this case, as we're talking about seasons, pride, arrogance, aren't good seasonings to add to your anything.
That's very true.
One, pride is going to keep you from growing.
What does the scripture say about that? Pride
is the fall.
Goes before a fall, and then a haughty spirit before destruction. And what people don't realize is a haughty spirit is arrogance. When you think that you're better or you already have all the answers. Pride goes before a fall, and a haughty spirit before destruction.
And what's a haughty spirit?
That is arrogance.
Arrogance, yeah. And arrogance can be found in so many ways.
Sure.
You don't have to be the best looking person, or you don't have to be arrogant.
Right.
You can be the worst looking in the room, but you can be as arrogant, or if not more than anybody else in the room, just because. So it doesn't matter who you are, or what you do, or what businesses you have, or what new idea you have.
Right.
Arrogance and pride are always going to be a recipe
for disaster. For disaster.
You're not going to be able to
continue to move forward. And people aren't going to want to move with you.
And what's the Bible say about the season and times?
That's right.
I've always been an advocate about enjoying one's time. Even as a young kid, like I always said, you know what? I want to live my youth to my fullest. I want to live my adulthood to my fullest, or to as much as I can, because time is the only thing that we can't get back.
That is true.
Time is in and out. This second just left.
It's already gone before you said it.
We'll never get back. However, in your enjoyment of time, you enjoy the seasons. I mean, who doesn't enjoy winter, spring, summer.
You can't say that because my mother-in-law is in town. And they are moving here because they're done with winter. We live in Florida, bro. But I get what you're saying. Who doesn't enjoy the spectrum?
And even in that, like in creation, the Lord was so good to us that he gave us, flavors to be able. Because let me tell you one thing. Christmas changes people.
True.
The beach changes people.
It is very
It
true.
changes moods. It changes the feel. It changes the desire of where we're going next, what we're going to do next. And that's how seasons work. We tend to like certain things and stick to certain things. But like your mother-in-law is moving to Florida because she's fed up with winter.
Right.
Because she's been in winter for a long time.
Hey, this guy is on fire today. Yes, sir.
When you get stuck in a particular season and you get stuck in a rut, it's over. And it's the same thing over and over again. There's only so much you can take out of it before you get stuck in this rut. And you're like, I can't deal with. What happens in Seattle? What's the biggest statistic in Seattle? It's suicides.
Okay.
People kill themselves more in Seattle, and this is, you can look it up, you Google it, verifiable. Why? Because of the weather, the winter, the
cold and the rain and etc.
So if this is happening in that season, people are getting fed up with it.
I see. People
aren't evolving to what they can do better.
I can understand what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I would say, and I would advise you, like, if you're going through a tough time in your company, take the best out of that time, because that time isn't going to be forever.
That's right.
It's just going to be temporary. And what is it for? For strengthening.
Sure.
With trees,
that's right.
Storms come through.
And they get stronger. The root system, the base of the support gets stronger, which allows better growth. Absolutely, man. In fact, there's a scripture. It was in Ecclesiastes 3. I remember you were trying to quote this. I think it was 9 through 11 or 9 through the end of that.
So it's Ecclesiastes 3, 1 through 12.
Yes, that's the whole seasons and times, right?
But we were focusing on 9 through 11.
Yes, that's right.
Verses with 9 through 11.
Because it talks about the toil and the work. The process that has been given to us divinely. Like all of us, no matter what we want or desire or think, it's going to require work because that's required of us. You can't change that. I remember the scripture says a man who doesn't work doesn't eat, right? So there's always going to be an essence of work. But then it also says that God makes things beautiful in his time. And it talks about the fact that you have to trust that the process is making the thing beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the point of seasons. Everyone wants, like you just said, when they say summer, winter, fall, spring, no one thinks about those months that they're made of. They just see the season.
Yeah.
But we talked about, and you were just saying, enjoying every day, the moment that you have to think about the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, and the months that comprise that season. And that's time.
Yeah.
And the most important thing you said is you have to take an assessment of what you're doing with that time. If you're in this season, whether it's a winter season and it's cold and it's sleeting in your life, quit focusing on the freaking weather. Focus on what you can do.
Exactly. Yes.
Right? If you're cold, put on some more clothes. Turn up the heat. If you feel like your fire is dwindling, go get something that fuels that fire. But you have to take responsibility and you have to take ownership. That is one of that is the best word I can give you today. You have to take ownership of the time and the season that you're in, because like you told me earlier, you don't know what's coming in the next season. So if I know I have today, I'm going to put in everything I've got.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to say this because it's very important. I literally wake up every single day and I tell myself what I want more than anything else is to live the best life I can live today.
Good.
That's it. When I go to sleep and I lay my head down, I tell God I'm grateful. I tell my wife how much I love her and how proud of her I am. But I also go back through my journal and my notes and I ask myself, did you live a great life today?
Yeah.
If I left today, did I live a great life?
Yes.
If you think that way, you live way above you only live once, and you live way above wasting time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And sometimes, you're going to hear we're being very positive and uplifting, but that's what we want.
That's what we want.
However, the dark times aren't necessarily to be wasted.
That's right.
Because I just told you guys a few months ago before, as I quit my last job and going through the process of even depression and darkness, like that, those times were not easy for me.
They are not easy.
I'm by nature, and my wife can tell you and attest to this, I'm naturally positive.
Mm-hmm.
I try to look at the best thing. I don't like to dwell in like the negative or the part. So going through the season was really killing me.
Sure.
Charles, it was really beating me because I'm not used to that. I didn't like it. However, if it weren't for that season, a business wouldn't have been birthed.
A new business
wouldn't have been birthed. So even in that, I'm thankful for, and I'm thankful to God because both me, my wife, my family, we grew together in a different level to where we birthed a new business. We had others, and those were going, but something else birthed. And what happened? We do have those other businesses.
Yes.
But what if this new birth is the one that's going to catapult everything to that next level?
You have to
understand. That dark season of my life was good for me to go through because it made me level up.
And that's maturity because you took ownership.
I could have dwelt in that.
You could have.
I could have sank in that depression.
Died in that and taken down everyone else with you.
Exactly. And taken down everything. Yeah. And in fact, demolished the other businesses that we had.
And not knowing that this one was coming.
Not knowing. Yeah,
this business has accelerated not just your life, but our life, right? We were already doing things, but we didn't know God wanted us to bring something to life through your vision. He used your idea and then he used what we were building, put them together, and now we're already impacting. We will never know how far these things will reach.
Exactly. And what would happen if I would have said no,
or it's everyone else?
And I told you guys a story where I went to a lunch with a friend. He demolished me, but I was encouraged, and I could have gone home and cried a river,
self-pity, all that.
But I made a U-turn. I talked to my wife and I told her what was going to happen, and I came and did. All these people, which is so funny because a lot of other businesses are being birthed from my obedience.
Do you hear?
From my wife's and I obedience.
Do you hear that?
Other businesses are being brought up where we're getting calls and we're like, what do you think if we did this? What do you think? And things that people have already thought of, but never knew that they could do because they didn't have the ability. They didn't have the personnel or even someone who could help them catapult or move on to another level.
Yes.
So,
or the example that they can touch.
Exactly.
Just like Jesus.
So you, as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as a leader, have no idea the many lives that you're about to touch.
That's right.
And catapult to different scenario, to a different level.
And we're not even just talking emotionally. We're talking about real dollars here. We're talking about real relationships here. You know what I mean? We're talking about connections and value that's been brought to life. I love that story because you remember my experience, and some of you may remember I told you not only did I work in entrepreneurship, of course I'm tapping on the mic, but not only did I work in entrepreneurship, but I also worked in ministry like you.
Yeah.
And the hardest season I had gone through in my life, and some of you can relate to this, is when you're doing all that you're supposed to do and the situation still doesn't work out the way you imagined it to be. For instance, I was actually released because the person I was under was always challenged by my success. Yeah. And he was bold enough to tell me that I made him look bad because I set the bar too high.
He's got cojones too.
Especially
in ministry.
At least he can say it, right? But the point I'm making is they released me not because of anything disciplinary, not because I was getting the highest scores you can get on evaluations from different. In fact, they wanted to give me my own campus.
Yeah.
And when he found that out, that was like the last straw, right? But the point I'm making is during that time where I was really hurt because it's nothing like, but I was doing good and well. And then you have to go through that depressive season and you have to look at yourself again. The thing that the Lord did for me, just like you, I'm so grateful. It was in that season that I went back and got my second master's, which, by the way, they discouraged me from actually getting.
Yeah.
They told me that I didn't need it. I shouldn't get it. I went and got it anyway. And then I got a full scholarship for it.
Yeah.
I finished it in less than 2 years.
Wow.
That very same master's, that was what taught me how to invest. My net worth skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I mean, like without crypto, because I was applying principles that were for me all along,
exactly,
that I would have missed out on. Then I started thinking about the people I was able to bless and my family and the life that we were able to change. We were able to shift our living and upgrade our living and also our giving. Bro, there's a lot that wouldn't have happened if I didn't take ownership,
right,
and enjoy the season I was in. It was hard, bro. It was dark. Sending out resumes and thinking maybe I'm supposed to find another job. You went through that. What was that experience for you? Because you've been through that.
Oh, it was terrible. Like, I never had to struggle for a job.
Right.
I went straight from school to my prior employer, and I was with them for 13 plus years. So I never knew what it was like to like be on the like job search and struggle and go in. And I want to talk about one person who's really impacted my life. But she's my sister-in-law.
Wow.
And I don't think she'll mind me talking about it. But her name is Maciel. We call her Masi. But she's such a beautiful soul inside and out.
That's true.
But I remember a while back, way before me leaving the employer I was in, she left. And she left knowing she needed to go. And she went to a city we didn't think she would go. And she, I think, went through a whole year without nothing.
I remember that.
And she showed me a binder one day, and it was full of, she's uber organized, full of like the resumes and like the employers she went through and interviews and information and like, oh my gosh. So we never saw her in that dark place. I never
understand
did.
that. And she was by herself
She was by herself with Theo, her dog. But I'm sure that it was hard for her.
I can imagine.
Now have gone through it myself. It was hard for her. And she landed she was landing quite a bit of opportunities, but she was turning left and right. She was turning them left and right.
Right.
Down left and right. And I was like,
what's your problem?
Are you stupid?
Right. Like, what are you doing?
Like, you need a job.
Right.
Why are you not
accepting?
Yeah. And they're good jobs.
Sure. Because they're
skilled. Paying you good.
Yeah.
I was just like, this girl's dumb. And not knowing myself what she was going and her plan and her even direct line with the Lord.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, she gets the job of her dreams.
Yes.
Travel,
yes.
The this, the that, the first business classes, the beautiful everything.
Yes.
And I was like, I was jealous. Super happy for her because I saw her patience and her struggle, but she got the job.
Yes.
And having seen her helped me jump too.
That's exactly right.
So she set an example without her even knowing. Right. So if she wouldn't have obeyed done what she needed to do when she felt when to do it, me and her probably would have been still in the same place that we were at. So
because you both worked at the same,
she doesn't even know it, and I haven't even told her. But she encouraged me to take the leap.
Right. That's so
and
beautiful. I
took the leap, and then I went through my own storm, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yes.
Now I get
you jump in the leap, and you're like, "Yeah, I'm going in faith."
And now I get what she went through, and I understand. Yes. But at the same time, it's like, man, it was hard.
Sure.
But I will say this: the dark times are placed for a reason.
That's
the Lord went through a
true.
desert, fasted 40 days, was tempted for a reason. And there are things that happen in our lives as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as men of our households, that we will not understand why we have to go through them.
Until we look back.
But then till you look back and you're like, That is why.
So you have to be grateful during the process.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to enjoy
even if you don't
the
want
process.
to.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, that's how we went. That's what we walked through. And, one thing is that as we're going through seasons in life, we can't forget that we as men know our own strength.
Sure.
Like, we know that we can do it.
Sure.
We just give in many times.
And that's because we're not aware of our weakness.
So you as an athlete know how much your body can push.
Sure.
Because you know yourself.
Sure.
And I'll go further down.
Please.
Like, you know my body.
Okay.
Because you are, with all your masters and
Yes.
whatever, you could tell me, Carlos, you could do more than that.
And that's exactly what I was hoping
When
to say.
I would say, oh, I'm done.
The moment you think that you're at the end of your ability,
Mm-hmm.
you're just tapping into the reserve of what's really there.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, can I write that down? Can someone please pass me a notebook? Oh my god!
I'll write it right here.
Yeah, put it in that Remarkable. We
Tell
need to
me.
get sponsored by them, by the way.
What'd you say?
I don't remember.
The moment
that you reach your limit, or what you think is your limit. You are just touching the surface of the reserves that are within you.
Okay.
We might have to go back and see the tape, because the first time I said it was a revelation. So now I'm trying to come off memory. But dude, I'm going to come back and get that one.
Gotcha. But no. Wow.
Yeah.
You're just touching the surface. You have so much. We as humans, as humanity, have so much that we can do.
Yes.
That we never go below that surface.
Yeah. We want to stay right there because it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But bro, I'm telling you something. I really feel like what we were going through and talking about today is going to genuinely, not just us, because I'm blessed. Mm-hmm. I know you're blessed hearing it. Our guest in the studio is blessed. Mm-hmm. But sincerely, man, I think as people listen to this, they're really going to think through some things. And we shared a lot of great nuggets in here that are bigger than just quotables and tweetables and all that nonsense. I hate cute, like cliches. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there's some things that we spoke about that people can take and use. Yeah. Is there any thoughts that you have, man? Any last thoughts that you have to kind of take us out?
One thing that just crossed my mind is that don't be embarrassed of going through whatever season you're going through.
Good word.
Sometimes we tend to try to hide.
Yes.
I'm that kind of person. I don't like to express or show people that I'm sad.
Okay.
Like, I'm not the kind that carries their heart on their hand.
Okay.
The palm of their hand, no.
Or on the sleeve.
On the sleeve, yeah. I'm always smiling and just, I never like to show, but I learned through this last season, it's okay. Don't be ashamed of it.
Sure.
You going through it for a reason.
Yes.
And not just necessarily for you, but for so many others.
That's exactly right. That's actually in our book. Can't wait for that thing to be published.
Me too, man.
I will say this one thing. I do have one thought too as well to close. And it was regarding dark seasons, like you just said. Yeah. Even though we talked about a whole plethora of things that tied together here. But in the specifics of going through the seasons, you said, don't waste the time. Mm-hmm. I hope that everyone gets that. The process is made up of seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, etc. Mm-hmm. Don't waste any of the seasons, no matter how dark they are. Because I think about COVID, even with what has happened to our world and nation. Mm-hmm. Do you know how many people who lost their job at the turn of this created businesses out of this? Yeah. How many people who had horrible relationships with their spouses and because they were forced to quarantine together became closer than they've ever been? Mm-hmm. How many people were praying and asking God for a break, if I could just get some rest? And he shut the whole world's economy down. And they're finally rested. They finally recovered. Mm-hmm. You know how many people who were literally on their last dime learned a new skill or invested for the first time? Yeah. And statistically, we have had more millionaires this year than any other time in history because some people tried something in the darkest of seasons. Yeah. So if there's anything we can tell you, and if there's anything I want to make sure I leave with you, is do not waste the time in your season. Well, guys, this is another show of Rebound and Rebuild. We're so glad you're with us, and we hope that you learned something. If you have any questions or any comments, we'd love your feedback. We love your stories. We love your testimonies. We would just love to just hear what you think about what we're doing, because we're trying to grow as well. And we're never too arrogant or prideful to believe that we can't get better. So thank you again for joining us, my man.
This is Coach Charles.
And Carlos, the creator.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is